Does your child repeat all the words and phrases that he hears? Have you been told that your child has echolalia? Or does your child like rhymes a lot and keeps repeating the lyrics from the rhymes? If you answered yes to any of these three questions, then this video is for you. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about what is echolalia, what are the types of echolalia, and why your child is exhibiting echolalia. So, I went to Google and I typed echolalia definition. I just wanted to see what is the definition of echolalia that everyone is exposed to as parents. So when I did that, I came to know that Google defines echolalia as meaningless repetition of another person's spoken words as a symptom of a disorder. And I started wondering, who told Google that echolalia was meaningless? If you thought that echolalia was in fact meaningless and there was no reason to why your child is doing this, then this video is for you and you're going to learn a lot by the end of this video. I don't blame Google or I don't blame you because historically it was thought that echolalia was meaningless. But there is a lot of new evidence that is coming up to show that echolalia is in fact not meaningless, but it does have some communicative meaning. Let's go into that by the end of this video. Okay, so now I'm going to give you a better definition of echolalia. This comes from a reputable source like the American Speech and Hearing Association. Echolalia is the repetition of utterances produced by others, or they also say that echolalia is just verbal imitation. Previously, echolalia was viewed as a maladaptive behavior, but increasing evidence is now suggesting that echolalia might be a bridge to meaningful self-generated communication by children with autism. Okay, so the first part of definition is complete. I hope that you understood that echolalia is not meaningless, but it in fact does have some communicative intent, which we will see later on. Now, we'll move on to the second thing, that is, what are the types of echolalia? So, we could say echolalia is of two types, that is, one is depending on the length of the echolalic utterance, that is, it can be a word level echolalia, or it can be a phrase level echolalia, or it can be a sentence level echolalia. And another type of saying echolalia is how soon the imitation occurs, that is immediate echolalia or delayed echolalia. Now let's see some examples. So if you ask your child, Thanni venuma, and the child repeats, venuma, this is an immediate word level echolalia. Example number 2. If you're showing your child this card and you're asking, Endano idu? And the child is not answering, and then you say, Idu Pashuvanu, and your child repeats you immediately saying Idu Pashuvanu. This is an example of an immediate phrase level echolalia. In delayed echolalia, the child remembers words, phrases and sentences that was said long time back and repeats it again when that stimulus is no longer present in the environment. For example, if you told your child yesterday, Memu ee roju parkku veltunnamu, and again after 1 or 2 days, your child, when he's sitting alone and playing, he repeats the same phrase but not to you, just to himself. Memu ee roju parkku veltunnamu. That means this is an example of a delayed sentence level echolalia. Delayed sentence level echolalia can also be seen as repeating rote phrases and rote sentences. This can be like your child repeating 5 little monkeys jumping on the bed, or it can be your child repeating wash, wash, wash your hands, something like that. So it can be even rhymes or it can be even speech. So both of this comes under delayed echolalia. Okay, now we're done with the second part, which is the types of echolalia depending on the length of the utterance and depending on how immediately or delayed the echolalia occurs. Now we move on to the third part, where I'm going to tell you why does your child echo your speech. So in order to know why your child is echoing your sentences and words as well as rhymes and other phrases that he's picking up from here and there, you have to understand something about the way your child understands language. Usually, children understand and perceive words one words and then two words and then three words. Small to bigger units of language are processed by children as they develop. But in children with autism or in children with a diverse neurology, what happens is the way language is processed is different. Evidence now suggests that children with autism perceive and process language a little bit differently. That is, they have something called a Gestalt language processing style. Okay, so now you might be wondering, Priyanka, tell me what is a Gestalt language processing style? I'll tell you. So, for example, when you're telling your child, हम आज थिएटर जा रही हैं, and your child repeats it as हम आज थिएटर जा रही हैं. What actually happens in your child's language processing and in your child's mind is they associate the whole phrase of हम आज थिएटर जा रही हैं as theater or as out or as family time or as going out and exploring. So they process the whole sentence to mean one emotion or one meaning or one word. So in this example, even though your child repeats the whole sentence of हम आज theater जा रही हैं, you have to think back. Does your child understand all the elements in this speech? Does your child know and express the pronoun hum? Does he know and express the verb going along with the tense of that verb? Does your child also know the concept of today or tomorrow? Are all these individual language units processed by the child? Might not really be. So your child might only be processing language as a whole sentence or as a whole unit. Okay, now your next question might be, okay Priyanka, my child processes language on the whole, doesn't process the smaller chunks of language information. Okay, now why does my child do this? Again, so even though echolalia on the surface is just seen as repetition, it does have some rudimentary communicative function. So what communicative functions does echolalia have? Number one is affirming. Affirming means the child makes it true or repeats what he is hearing in a way to affirm to himself, okay, this is what this is. Like in the example, Tanni Venuma, and the child repeats Venuma. So Venuma is his way of saying, yes, I want it. I am affirming that I want it. Or in our other example, when the child says, Memu ee roju parkuku veltunnamu, your child is actually requesting you, or your child is labeling something that happened long ago. So the second communicative function is requesting and the third communicative function is labeling. When your child does something naughty and you're trying to discipline him and you say, Appa kitta sollatuma, or shall I tell daddy? And immediately your child is like, Appa kitta sollatuma. That means your child is protesting. Even though he's repeating exactly what you're saying, you can see with his body language and with his facial expressions that he is actually fearful, and he is protesting to you that don't tell daddy. So that is the fourth communicative function, which is protesting. So even without all of these four communicative functions, your child might still be repeating rhymes or still be repeating some phrases he hears, like itsy bitsy spider, or this is the way we wash our hands. So when your child is repeating these things, it can mean that he is rehearsing a memory. So all of us know that our memories are very emotion based. That is, we remember things that are happy to us or sad, that made us really sad, that made us think deeply. So this is how most of our memory works, and even in children it is that way. So when your child is repeating itsy bitsy spider, it can mean that your child is rehearsing a happy event or an event in which he felt really calm and he felt so stimulated and happy and learning, and he loved the music, he loved the videos of the spider climbing up the water pipe. So it can be that he is rehearsing a happy memory or rehearsing a joyous moment for himself. So when your child especially does this memory rehearsals, you can also, just a side note, this is just a side note, it's not always true, but you can also see if you are placing extra demands on your child at that moment. Because what children tend to do is, when there's a lot of demands from the environment, when mom and dad or the teacher or the therapist keeps asking them for many things and they feel they are not able to meet the demands, they could replay the rhyme or replay the happy music or replay the happy song that they heard, because this is a way like a compensatory behavior. So when I'm not able to do this and I'm a little bit stressed, I will think of something that made me happy. So this could be that. So if you notice that your child is repeating a lot of phrases and sentences to in memory and making himself happy, it could be that there might be a very stressful or a demanding environment around him. So if there is one, reduce the demands and increase the play and increase relationship development with your child. And if you like this video, let me know and ask me to make a video on what you can do if your child has a lot of echolalia and has a lot of repetitions. So this is the end of the third part of the video where I told you 4 communicative functions for echolalia. So I hope this video was helpful for you and made you understand more about why your child has echolalia. And if you want to know more about what to do for your child's echolalia, wait for the part 2 of this video. Until then, see you in the next video. Bye.